Hi, grade 7s. Okay, so we're on to lesson 2, Introduction to Economics. Things will go a little bit faster now because we're developing a bit of a routine. We'll get right to it. We're talking about needs and wants. What are some of the things you need and want? Depending on our situation, our needs and wants can change quite drastically, especially right now. Right now is a very interesting time to be studying needs and wants. The decisions of what we purchase may change depending on what's happening in our culture. Think about how your family may be making different purchases during this extraordinary time right now, right? Obviously, we're not going out a whole lot because we're not really allowed. We're supposed to be staying home to keep people safe. We're not going out to New Minas or to Bears Lake to get a bunch of non-essential items. In fact, many businesses are closing that are selling non-essential items. So that's more things that we would want, right? A couple of weeks ago, I really wanted to buy a PlayStation 4. At that time, I could still buy that. I wanted to play some video games. I knew we'd have a lot of time. So I thought, you know what? I'm not only going to play games, but I'll do that as one of my activities, so it's going to be a lot of fun. So at that time, I could still go and buy a PlayStation 4 because it is something that I wanted. At this point, I wouldn't be able to do that because it's not something that is needed anymore. It's not an essential item. At this point, the only thing that is open are stores that are offering essential items. Those are our needs. Needs and wants, both very different things. Decisions. Every day we have to make decisions about how we use our time, our money, our energy, or our materials. These decisions involve economics. That's what this is called. Economics is the art of decision making. Economics is the study of how we use limited resources to meet our needs and our wants. So just as you are faced with these questions, so are governments. So you make decisions individually. I made the decision to buy a PlayStation 4. You might make a decision to buy a hockey stick or something. In every society, people face the same economic choices, but governments make bigger decisions. They decide whether or not to build a hospital, whether or not to build a school, whether or not to fix certain roads, right, based on how many people are traveling on those roads, whether or not to make more airports, if there needs to be more travel to those airports. Economic systems. So over time, there have been 3 main economic systems that countries have used to help meet their needs and their wants. There's 3 systems that we're going to get from today: traditional, command, and market. Most countries today use a system that has some features of all 3. It's called a mixed market economy. This is a really popular term. We're talking about all those choices that we're making, that individuals are making, that governments are making, and that consumers and producers are making. So in an economic system, people are both the producers of the items and also the consumers. So when I go and buy something like that PlayStation 4, somebody made it. Somebody made it and somebody is selling it to me. Okay? On a more simple scale, if I go buy an apple at the farmer's market, somebody had to grow that apple. There was a producer and there was a consumer. That was myself, okay? On a very small scale, if we really think about it, a KES bake sale, right? You guys sometimes do this at the school. Some of you will produce those items, and then you'll go and sell those items, and then the consumers will buy those items. So the 3 different types of economic systems, we have traditional, market, and command. And here's the difference. There are lots of differences between them. The traditional one, we have economic decisions that are made based on customs, rituals, or habits. Okay, change is discouraged and sometimes even punished. Methods of production are often inefficient in the traditional method. Family and community ties are really strong in this traditional method, and little uncertainty exists over what or how to produce, and consumer choices are rare. That's what it says under that little table there. Traditional you can think about as an example of like trading between, like if I'm going over to a friend's house and trading that friend 2 eggs for a little bit of milk, that is a traditional market system, right? It doesn't really involve much other than us trading back and forth. The market economy, that's when economic decisions are made by individuals, like myself. Individuals own the factors of production. There's a high degree of individual freedom in that. Like I was free to make that decision to buy a PlayStation 4. There are a large variety of goods and services, little incentive to engage in unprofitable ventures like caring for the sick, and high degree of uncertainty. Okay, so market economy, you can imagine, is individual. It's based on our individual choices. You'll understand this further as we get going. Command is those decisions made by governments, right? Those decisions, the government owns the factor of the production. So it says private property rights, individual freedom, and consumer choices are limited in command market economies, in a command economy. Resources can be quickly rerouted, it says, and many health and public services are available at little or no cost. So you can imagine the difference. We live in a mixed market economy because, one, I can go we can use education as a great example. I can go and pay for my son or daughter to go to school at King's Edgehill. That's in a market economy, right? That is a business, essentially. Or I can have my son or daughter go to a public school. That is in a command economy. And the idea that we offer both, that's called a mixed market system, where the government is providing lots of opportunities, but also we have a private sector that is also providing a lot of opportunities as well. And then we also have a traditional sector where we can trade amongst each other. That's sort of, actually, if you think about Kijiji or Facebook Marketplace, that's a traditional market, right? A system of trade. So Canada has a mixed market economy system. This means that the government controls some aspects of the economy, but not all. For example, everyone who has unfortunately lost their jobs due to this coronavirus will be able to get money from the government to help them. The government has already brought out this amazing bill that will enable these people to get emergency funds, right? Because they lost their jobs. To ensure safe working conditions for employees of companies, the government steps in and builds laws like labor rights to give the workers freedom. When I'm working at King's Edgehill School, even from home, I feel very safe with that company because they are always going to be looking after me. And if they don't, in fact, we have the government to back me up, because we live in this democratic country where if something happens that's unfair, the government can step in, and that's a real freedom that we have. So that's it. I want you to understand that there are different types of economies in our overall economy, and it's called mixed market. And so we're going to kind of think about that a little bit in your next assignment. It says, for today's lesson, I want you to think about our own community and how it operates as part of a mixed market economy. In the discussion forum for lesson 2, I want you to identify 5 economic activities that take place around you. Then classify them as traditional, command, or market. I have provided 3 examples below, so I want you to do 5 of them. I've given 3 right below. So number 1, Sterling's Farmers Market, for example. This business operates in the market economy. There's a farmers market just down the road that's called Sterling's, and that owner is making some profit by selling their apples and all of the produce that is grown near the Indianapolis Valley. That's in a market economy. Number 2, the Valley Regional Hospital, right? You go to the hospital and you think everything's free, but it can't be free. Someone's got to pay for this. This operates in the command economy, as it is run and paid for by the government as a public service, right? We break our leg, we go to the hospital, we get it fixed up, and we leave. Do we, put our debit card in there or a Visa? No, because we have Medicare, which is a national program. So because of these, somebody pays for it. We all kind of pay for it through taxes, and so that's part of the command economy. That's when the government controls that sector of the economy. Number 3, trading eggs for sugar with my neighbor. It's the best example I can think of for a traditional economy. It's based on trade, just back and forth. Although this does not exchange money, it is part of the traditional economy. Or if you can imagine sites like Kijiji, Facebook Marketplace, they could also be considered part of the traditional economy. Those are the 3 types. I want you to think of 5 examples from your community, and then add to the discussion forum, and we'll kind of help each other out, and you can add responses to each other's, and you can start a little conversation. It's great. Thank you so much. See you next time.